Jenna Bush Hager has shared countless stories over the years about family, motherhood, love, and growing up in a famous household. But one moment in particular continues to make people smile, laugh, and feel surprisingly emotional all at once. It's the story about the day she realized that even in the most loving families, opinions can get very strong, especially when it comes to naming a child. Jenna has always been open about how close she is to her parents, former President George W. Bush and former First Lady Laura Bush. Their family bond has always been rooted in warmth, humor, and deep respect. But when Jenna became a mom herself, she quickly learned something unexpected. Her mother had thoughts, very clear thoughts, and those thoughts were about her grandchild's name. Jenna recalled the moment with laughter, explaining how excited everyone was when she and her husband, Henry Hager, were preparing to welcome their baby. Like most parents, they spent countless hours discussing names. They wanted something meaningful, something personal, something that felt right for their growing family. They finally settled on a name they loved. But that's when the surprise happened. Jenna shared that her mom, Laura Bush, calm, graceful, and famously thoughtful, gently suggested another name. Not demanded, not argued, just suggested. And yet the moment was unforgettable. Jenna remembered thinking how funny it was that even as an adult, even as a mother, she was still having one of those classic mother-daughter moments. The kind where you suddenly realize that moms never really stop being moms, no matter how old their children get. She described how her mom's suggestion came from a place of love. Laura Bush wasn't trying to take control, she simply cared deeply and wanted the name to feel timeless, meaningful, and rooted in family tradition. Jenna laughed as she told the story, admitting that she was torn between honoring her mother's opinion and trusting her own instincts as a parent. Henry, of course, watched it all unfold with quiet amusement. Jenna joked that husbands in moments like these learn very quickly when to listen, when to smile, and when to stay completely neutral. The conversation never turned tense. There was no family drama. Instead, it became one of those stories that families retell for years, the kind that gets funnier every time. Jenna explained that her mom's suggestion wasn't about disliking the chosen name, it was about imagining her grandchild growing up, introducing themselves to the world, and carrying that name through every stage of life. That's when Jenna realized something important. This wasn't really about a name, it was about love, about generations overlapping, about a mother seeing her daughter step into motherhood herself. Jenna reflected on how becoming a parent changes your perspective. Suddenly, you understand why your own parents cared so much, why they offered advice even when it wasn't asked for, why they worried, suggested, and sometimes gently nudged. She admitted that at the time, she felt confident in her choice. She loved the name she and Henry picked. It felt right to them. It felt like their child. And in the end, that's exactly what mattered. Jenna shared that the final decision remained hers and Henry's, and her mom respected that completely. But the moment stuck with her, not because of disagreement, but because of what it represented. A family that talks, a family that cares, a family that feels safe enough to share opinions without fear of judgment. Jenna smiled as she described how her mom later laughed about it too, joking that grandmothers are allowed to have opinions, especially when it comes to names. She added that now, looking back, she finds the entire experience incredibly sweet. There was something romantic about it in a quiet way. A grandmother imagining her grandchild's future, a mother learning to trust herself, a daughter realizing she's now part of a new generation shaping the family story. Jenna admitted that she sometimes wonders if she'll do the same thing someday. She joked that if her own kids become parents, she'll probably say, "I'm not trying to change the name, but have you thought about this one?" And just like her mom, she'll mean it with love. Fans listening to the story couldn't help but relate, because no matter where you come from, family moments like this feel universal. Different homes, different names, same emotions. There's something comforting knowing that even in a well-known family, the moments that matter most are small, personal, and deeply human. Jenna emphasized that motherhood has taught her patience, humor, and empathy. It's taught her how to laugh at moments that once felt stressful, and it's taught her that family advice, even when unexpected, often comes from the purest place. She described how her child's name now feels perfect, not because everyone agreed, but because it belongs to someone deeply loved. And that's when Jenna said something that stayed with listeners. She said that names are important, yes, but what truly shapes a child is the love surrounding them, the laughter, the support, the stories they grow up hearing, including the story about how grandma once had a different idea. By the end of her story, Jenna wasn't just talking about a name, she was talking about connection, about generational love, about the beautiful chaos of family life. And in that moment, fans didn't just hear a funny story, they felt seen. Because almost everyone has a version of it, a parent with an opinion, a grandparent with a suggestion, a moment that feels big at the time, but later becomes a treasured memory. Jenna's story reminds us that family surprises don't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're simply a reminder that love shows up in unexpected ways. So if you've ever smiled at a family disagreement that ended in laughter, if you've ever chosen your own path while still honoring where you came from, and if you've ever realized that parents never stop caring, even when you're grown, then this story probably felt like home. And that's the beauty of it. Because in the end, it was never about changing a name, it was about celebrating family, love, and the stories that connect us all.